And now a complete change in mood. We now go to Robert Schumann, who was a German composer, a German romantic composer of the mid-1800s, a contemporary of Brahms and Beethoven. And he wrote primarily for the piano. He was a pianist himself, but he married Claire Schumann, who was a virtuoso pianist. And as he grew older, he found himself less able to play and more to compose. He primarily composed for her. He's fallen out of favour largely because his orchestrated music wasn't as popular, but his piano music lives on. He died actually very tragically. He suffered from depression, and in his mid-40s he tried to commit suicide, but he didn't succeed, but he so damaged himself he died 2 years later. This piece is got a lovely German name, Wilde Ritter, which is Wild Horseman. And it was written for the piano. We've adapted it for handbell, and we've actually branched out a bit more in the change. We've actually stuck in a clacker handbell to try and simulate whipping. I will tell you, it only arrived from America on Tuesday, so we've never actually played it yet. But it is available to sadomasochists afterwards if you want to simulate them. With something a little bit grand. It was originally, this was written for VE Day, but it was VE Day 1746. The war, the Austro-Hungarian War of Succession had been raging for several years, and it was sold at the Treaty of Vienna, which is 1740 in present today. The king at the time was George II, and he was, as you know, German. And he decided, well, he rejoiced so much at the end of the war that he decided that he would have the party in the park, the biggest party you can think of. And this was to be in Green Park. He got an Italian architect who designed a big pavilion, an enormous pavilion. He got Handel to write his music. He got fireworks experts to do the fireworks. And they had a dress rehearsal. This was at Vauxhall, and the dress rehearsal was so well attended that 20,000 people turned up and paid 2 and 6 each, which was one hell of a lot in those days, because it jammed London Bridge apparently for 4 hours each day. Now, come the final performance, which was, this is in April, it was a typical April day. It was bloody wet, which isn't good for fireworks. So they all turned up to play the music, and the music went absolutely brilliantly. But the fireworks were not quite so successful. Rockets were going off in directions they weren't meant to go off. One of them set fire to a woman's dress, and bear in mind that you're talking about Bridgerton dress. I mean, this wasn't just an ordinary dress. This was half a field full of dress. A couple of soldiers were blinded. One had his hands blown off. And then the pavilion burned down. At that point, they decided they'd had enough and they all went home. But fortunately, the music lives on, so we have Handel's music. It's the Minuet No. 2 for the Royal Fireworks music.